No.
Okay.
Michael's.
Okay. I also know some smooth song.
Well, my kids went to school with the younger brother. Oh,
Corey,
Stephen, yeah,
Steven.
yeah, because I had two boys and Arlo too, so, yeah.
Some snacks over there. I see people got sort of water.
Thank you.
We're clearly waiting for a handful more folks, so. Was the door locked?
Oh, you may have unlocked it.
Okay.
It was locked for Raj, we're trying to keep that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sandy. Yeah. Oh, no. It started to be, certain yellow or crap.
Yeah, it's so fun. Yeah.
No one can you say crap?
Yeah.
Something, I don't know.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
It's just like. Finally, I'm a trainer. Park say. So that's apparently. I think we're someone's trying. That tent is made in 1890s.
Wow. That's so fun.
Official intro.
I really love that.
You asked them all about
Yeah. Yeah, I really thought that one well. I was saying, oh, it's hard to see MCD. Criteria, measuring.
Yeah.
I did a good job, it was the right group.
Really was.
Yeah.
Those days look like.
Yeah. It's kind of a long conversation.
Yeah, it was really good. Both some good. Yeah, it was like. And then you have spice.
Hello.
You are. So wherever.
Related to the county.
When we go through.
I'm only there. I sent you. System loss. Things, plans. Great. Oh, yeah. Design standards for Google.
We had a conversation with the technical advisory committee.
Better and at a larger scale.
I want to start us on time, but it looks like we're still missing 5 people. So I'll give us like a couple more minutes, but I see people walking in.
Yeah,
Say, hello, people in.
I think 2 came in. Three.
He's bellhopping.
Perfect, yeah, after 6 o'clock, the doors require bellhop.
We're in the perfect location for it. Someone knocked on the window.
Somebody up front who. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, how are you? Nice to see you again. Yeah. Hi, welcome. I've got vibes for you. How you are. Oh, feel free to sit wherever you like. Yeah. Are you doing? You got vibes for me over here.
You got one of those parks and budget.
Okay, I think, oh, I see Tom out there. Bell hopping the front door.
Let me trade.
Yeah, sure. I think what we're
Go out
doing.
there if we need to.
What was that?
I was saying, the same.
No, I can do it. I'll probably have us get started and then I suppose scribble it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's okay. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. I want to get us started and going so that we can get you all out of here at exactly 30. Thank you. You guys are the parks, the Public Advisory Committee for the Clackamas County Park System Plan. We have a lot doc this evening to kind of present and go over and talk to you all about. So thank you all for making the time. I know it's probably been a long day for all of you. You've been at work and been doing a lot of other things. So if you pay attention, there are snacks in the back. The bathrooms are just down the hall. You all have a binder with a little name card that's in front, so you can pull that out. And that is helpful for everyone. So we'll do a round of introductions. Some of you may know each other, some of you may not. Next slide. Yeah. Oh, this is the wrong. No. Oh no, this isn't. Yeah. Great. Yeah. Let's just start with a round of introductions. I will just briefly introduce myself, and then kind of come back and talk a little bit more about who the team and who we are. My name is Anais Mate. I work for Cascadia Partners. I'm part of the project management team supporting the county in this effort. And you'll be seeing me at all of these meetings moving forward.
Yeah, I'm Mark, Park Operations Supervisor. I obviously work in the department, but I also have 2 little kids, so I'm a frequent user of the parks.
Well, yeah, if you could just state your name, kind of your role, or maybe your representation or agency. And then, yeah, just a quick little snippet, share with us how you might connect with county parks, how you use them, how you might care for them, how you might depend on them. Yeah, it's a little personal snippet. Mark?
I'm Mark Rasmussen. I'm here because I'm on the county forest advisory board, so I didn't say no quick enough. I'm happy to be here. I'm in the river a lot these days, fishing in the county parks.
Great.
Not catching, just fishing.
My name is Jennifer Wild. I'm with Adventures Developments. We're a nonprofit, adaptive, and inclusive outfitter. So we're permit holders on the Upper Clackamas River, and they recreate frequently in parks in Clackamas County. And we have a specialty on connecting folks with disabilities and other underrepresented communities to parks, and I'm bringing a little bit of that lens.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jeff Schaefer. I'm the Vice President and CFO for Clackamas Community College. And I was born and raised here. I also have 23 years at the city of Portland, mainly with Portland Parks and Rec. So I was kind of the natural fit for somebody from the college. I bring a lot of that. We have a 200-acre campus up the street. So we try to think of ourselves as a community park-like asset to the community. So I try to bring that lens to the college, and my family loved to enjoy the parks since I was born and raised out here in the area. So yeah, I use the parks all the time.
Great.
I'm Rob Smith. I live out in the Mooring area and I've been on the park board for over 30 years. And,
Wait, you're the longest serving member? Is that what I heard?
That's what I think so.
Yeah.
You have to go back and look to see how one of our other members finally is done. So it's been a long time. So I've been through this process a few times with the parks now. When they do use the parks and going up.
What's that? It's trying to them, yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Always took the kids down there when they were younger. They're all in their 30s now, so they don't get out there.
Thanks, Rob.
Justin and Ostrander are also on the County Parks Advisory Board, and yeah, I started right before I had my first kid. I'm now on 3, and parks are a great place to just let them go off leash for a while, you know.
Hi, I'm Matt. I'm with the consultant group with Greenworks, a landscape architect, and will be involved in the development of this plan.
Ellen, maybe you want to jump back and then we'll move back.
Ellen Roslin, Community Relations Specialist in Transportation Development, working on this project. And my connection to the parks happened the second day I was on the job, which was 21 years ago. So it's not, doesn't quite be 30, but the then Parks Director, Parks and Forest Director, took me on a tour. He took me to Eagleford Park, and it was just so gorgeous. And that has stuck in my mind. I've been in love with the parks ever since.
Good evening, thank you for coming. My name is Sarah Ekman. I'm Assistant Director with the Department of Transportation and Development, and County Parks is one of our programs. We're really appreciative that you're all here. I think, gosh, I've used the parks. Tom has, I think we've officially been to each park now together. So for an official tour, Tom's an excellent parks tour guide. If you ever need a park tour, use that. And I remember some of those areas. I remember a long time ago going to hear Patrick Lamb at Barton for like music in the park. And I don't know if that was a long time ago, but one of the first times I think I was at Barton. It was under one of the big covered areas. And it was a county collaboration, I believe.
I'm Pierre King, the management analyst for County Parks. I am very new to the area, so I have not used the parks very much. Besides Tom dragging me there, and I would not recommend going on a tour with him. I'll show you everything. No, I'm
Good depends what kind of tour.
Keith Gallenbeck, mechanical engineer. I moved back to my home here in Oregon in '96, and a friend of mine took me out to county property between Carver and Barton at Madrone Wall in '97. Went rock climbing there. It was still open at that time for that use. It got closed right after that, and like other people, was just blown away by what I saw there. It got closed because county wanted to open a rock quarry at that time. It was 20 years of volunteer work with a group of nonprofit. We started a nonprofit in the Madrone Wall Preservation Committee, and 20 years later, from '97 to 2017, I took to finally open the park. That site with the National Guard help, county transportation, and Development Council, kind of some raised $100,000 here towards the park. The Park Advisory Board, just a long road, but still working as a director with this 501c3 all volunteer nonprofit to support anything the county wants to do at the park, build trails, get the word out about access to it.
Great, thank you.
Diana Helm, I'm your newest county commissioner. I started last Well, I started during the budget week last year. That was baptism by fire right there. I learned a lot about Clackamas County in a short 3 days. I don't have time to clean my house, let alone go to a park, but my son and his wife use Clackamas Park. They paddleboard and they use parks a lot, so they're very outdoorsy and adventurous, and they go all over. They love Estacada, is one of their favorite places, so they go up there to the river. But anyway, I'm here to listen and learn and help as much as possible.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm James Adkins. I've been a Clackamas County resident since 2016. I'm also the executive director of the Association of Northwest Steelheaders. We're a 501c3 nonprofit that works to get people engaged in recreational fishing, engaged in the resource, advocate for the resource. We're advocates for fisheries, public access, and habitat restoration. So happy to be here. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kathleen Walker, and I worked on the Mountain National Forest on the whole west side, managing on the recreation for about 25 years. And I was involved in the bikeway and pedestrian plan up there for the village to Mount Hood, built a lot of the trails around government camp with the Mount Timberline to town. All the trails around there, linking to William, and then also all the stuff up to Clackamas with campgrounds and the wilderness and all that kind of stuff. So long history there, but I've been retired since 2015 and volunteering for a lot of stuff. I've been 27 years on the chairing, most of that chairing the Parks Advisory Board for the city of Sandy. And I built a lot of trails in Sandy and around Sandy, work with Northwest Trails Alliance and other folks to kind of get grants and get things done. It's a lot easier not being all the red tape of the Forest Service to get things done. So that's my passion. And now I've been on the city council for City of Sandy, but now I'm the mayor for now.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna volunteer. So
Mayor Walker and I worked on the Sandy Comprehensive Plan updates, so a little history there. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Finley. I'm on the project management team. I've got a background in design and engagement, and I'm really excited to be hearing from y'all today.
Emily, do you have a park that you love, or?
Ooh, I'm not as familiar with the Clackamas County parks, but I am a big fan of camping at a more local scale. Like, you don't have to go a really long way to go on a camping trip. That's what very exciting.
I'm Tom Riggs. I'm Parks Manager for Clackamas County Parks. I use the parks far too infrequently because I'm busy sitting in front of a computer making sure paperwork goes through so that other people can enjoy the parks. But so grateful to have all of you here to help us with this effort as we move forward. And
yeah, great.
Get into more details. Yeah.
Thanks. I forgot to mention my favorite parks. I'm a big climber at Madrone Wall. I biked Springwater Corridor and a pick-a-thon. Love parks and recreation out in the zone as well. So this is also close to my heart. Okay, so thank you all for the intro. You've heard from myself and Finley from Cascadia Partners. We have Matt from Greenworks. We also have Alicia Milligan from Echo Northwest, who's going to be supporting with some level of service and financial feasibility analysis that you're going to be seeing a little bit later on in this process. So we're kind of a full-fledged team along with our county staff as well. So good and large project management team.
There's one person online.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Hey, Sam.
How's it going? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we certainly can. Thank you for joining us, and apologies that I moved right past you. Yeah, feel free to introduce yourself, and if you want to share anything about your favorite parts or how you use them, care for them, etc.
Yeah, my name is Sam Prevo. I spend a lot of time in Clackamas County Parks. A lot of time, down the Clackamas River corridor is the main parks that I frequent. And I run a kayak school and rafting business based in Oregon City, and started the Clackamas River cleanup about 25 years ago, where we engaged over 2,000 people and pulled, over 80,000 tons of trash out of the river. And it's one day effort working to steward the river and knowing that it's a drinking water source for Clackamas County and important for the endangered species and the ecosystem in general. We've been involved in a bunch of different efforts in the corridor, and excited to take part in this process and learn. And there's a bunch of parks I haven't been to that I'd love to get to, and just excited to understand what this process is all about. So thanks for inviting me and making it available online. I'm not in Oregon right now, so this is helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, I hear you're traveling in cool places right now, so hopefully we get to meet you in person at the next meeting.
Is that a palm tree I see behind you?
Yeah.
Probably, yeah. I'll be back in Oregon tomorrow. So
Okay.
the 22nd is a 48-hour program for me.
Okay.
We'll see you soon.
Okay. Great. So yeah, let's move on. So Tom's gonna talk a little bit about this park system plan, why now, what are our areas of focus?
Yeah, so we are looking to develop obviously a park system plan to address all of these areas related to how we run our parks. And you know, what is the project? We are trying to build a blueprint and a vision for the future of county parks, next 10 years or so of operational decisions and prioritization. And why we're doing it now, the last planning effort was 24 years ago. And strangely, the demographics of our county have changed. The uses of our parks have changed. Some of the properties in our portfolio have changed. So it is not reflective of the current community, the current program. So it's a good time for us to be updating this. And you know, some of the objectives of this is we're really hoping to get a vision of what the community wants county parks to be. We can't obviously be all things to all people, but we certainly fill a role in the recreational spectrum. And so we need to better understand what it is that our community needs from us and what resources we would need to be able to deliver on that. So that's a basic overview of what we're doing, why now. We want to obviously look at our land holdings, our financial sustainability, and really what our community needs, our level of service of what we're delivering, the product that we're delivering, what fits in our program and what doesn't. So that's the short version. I've got more info I'll share a little later.
Yeah. Okay. And so in terms of what that looks like as a project, I'll talk a little bit about how we're organizing this work. And yes, please.
Can I ask a question? Tom, are there any big issues that need to be solved?
There are. Yes, I believe there will be many slides about those.
No, it's not, you're just not updating the plan because it's time to do it.
No, there's definitely
Funding is an issue.
funding is a big issue.
Many.
And right sizing our portfolio in terms of the types of lands we have. We recently acquired a land holding by donation that may not be a great fit for our portfolio. There was another land holding that we were interested in and thought would be a good fit that we missed out on. And some of those were because we didn't have a framework behind what's a county park.
Yeah. Okay.
And so, yeah, there's definitely some issues we're trying to solve.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Tom will continue unpacking that a little bit further too here in a moment. So just in terms of what this looks like in the project, so we've organized this work into 3 phases. We got under contract in October, so this is really just kicked off. We're mid-January, we've had our first meeting with the technical advisory committee just earlier today. So we are in what we're calling the listen and learning phase. We've done a bunch of data collection and analysis around sociodemographic information. We are also going to be using this time to do an assessment of park amenities and different sites. That's going to actually happen over the next few months. And then we were also using this time to develop level of service and financial stability analysis. This is work that's going to be led by Echo Northwest. So there's a lot of background work happening right off the bat. And our hope is that we'll be able to come back to you at the next PAC and TAC meeting in the spring and sort of report back all that we've learned. But while that work is happening, this is our opportunity as this first meeting to understand, what are the values, how do we operationalize those values, what feels important about county parks and how is that different from North Clackamas Parks District and other entities that also offer parks in the same geography. In the spring, going through summer, this is where the bulk of our work happens. This is what we're calling our Plan Our Parks Future. In this phase, we're going to be articulating that vision, those goals and objectives that we're going to start articulating tonight. We will also be compiling best practices and reviewing and understanding how other county parks also operate. We will also be putting together recommendations and evaluation criteria that we can use for decision making. All of that will be accompanied by just broader engagement. So you'll see in this first phase, the listening and learning phase, we're going to be doing some focus groups. We'll have a survey. A lot of the engagement that's happening over the next couple of months will be more targeted. We'll be doing interviews with jurisdictional partners, staff, folks like that. And then you'll be doing much broader engagement that will include a community meeting as well as focus groups with a broader range of community organizations. And we'll also be tabling probably at trailheads and at parks all throughout the summer. And all of that will culminate into the final phase, which is developing the actual plan document. We hope to kick that off in the fall. And we'll have one final survey online for that effort as well. And that all leads us to an adoption timeline, hoping towards the end of 2026. Throughout all of that process, we'll be meeting with this group 4 times throughout the 12 months. We're organizing the meeting so that we can come back to you with a lot of information about what we've been doing and what we've learned, and then using these meetings as critical junctures where you can give us input and feedback so that we can further define the next phase of work. And then, of course, we will have regular briefings, or staff will be conducting regular briefings to the Board of County Commissioners, as well as the Park Advisory Board. We have obviously some representation here tonight, so feel free to, share and be that liaison for us, because that's very helpful. Any questions about the project phasing or the timeline or anything? I think I moved a slide around. I wanted to just talk about roles and responsibilities. Do you mind? Yeah, let's just. So as I mentioned, there's 4 meetings. There's a brief little charter in your binder. It's just to help orient you all and kind of the hopes and expectations for this group. So this is a public advisory committee. We also have a technical advisory committee that's going to be meeting on the same day as this committee meets. So we'll be getting a lot of the same information. But we hope that you can participate in all meetings. We have a hybrid component happening here, but we're hoping to have these in person to the extent that we can. We would love for you to take the time to review materials in advance. We're going to hopefully send them all out about a week in advance to give you some time to review and digest. All the materials that you will be receiving in advance are also things we'll be talking about too, so there's no test. We'd love to lean on you to help us inform outreach and engagement efforts. If there are key partners or people or groups that we're not reaching, or you have great ideas about how to do so, we would love that feedback. Act as liaisons to specific communities, interests, stakeholder groups, etc. You all have your own networks. You're all connected in ways that the others are not. So to the extent that you can share this information out, there'll be lots of opportunities to either take a survey or come to an event or things like that. So we'll be preparing those communication materials. And so if you have the bandwidth to share and spread that information out, that's always super helpful for us. Support engagement activities. If you're feeling really up for it and you want to come table at a trailhead someday with us, or you want to support at one of the community meetings, we always love volunteers to just kind of be there. Also just to listen. It's really interesting to just be in these places and hear how people speak about county parks and just be able to digest that information alongside us is really great. And then, yeah, encouraging participation in the planning process. Of course, as I said, you are all connected to your own networks, so to the extent you can expand or share information out is helpful. And then serve as ambassadors to this effort. We really want to make sure that your input is reflected in this process and that this is driven by that. So we'll be very much leaning on you all to help direct in a lot of ways. Any questions about that or the charter? Yes.
Yeah, I was just curious what the scope is for the technical advisory committee.
Yeah, quite similar. The technical advisory committee is primarily made up of county staff, service providers, agencies, and they will have probably a little bit of a deeper dive on the level of service analysis and the financial feasibility analysis. But yeah, their role is honestly quite similar. In fact, there was also a conversation about maybe combining the technical advisory and this public advisory committee for one or two of the meetings, especially when we start talking about evaluation criteria and recommendations. And so there's could be maybe a little bit of cross-pollination of ideas there. So yeah, they're separate for now, but I think that there's opportunity to bring you all together at key junctures. Does that answer the questions?
Very good, thank you.
Any other questions or comments on that? Flo? Okay, yeah, so I'll briefly touch on, there's a community engagement strategy, it's in draft form, it's in your binder. This was our first attempt to identify what is the universe of our park users, how are we reaching these groups, what are we doing in our engagement throughout this process, what are we trying to learn from people, what are we trying to learn from you all, and what are we trying to learn from the public. There's some interesting demographic information in that community engagement strategy. They are demographics of park users collected. Where was the data from? It was
Datafy from
Datafy, yeah.
Tourism Department.
Right. So just some interesting stats to kind of help orient you here, but most observed county park users are white, so 87%. This is higher rates than the overall county as well as the state population. It's interesting. Adults between 25 and 64 have definitely a higher income bracket and have high school education or less, or even a college degree. So just a little smattering of facts there, but there's a lot more to unpack in the communication strategy if someone's feeling curious. So I mentioned, yes, please.
What is Datafy?
Datafy.
Datafy is a aggregate data source that tracks essentially cell phone users. And so they set up geofencing, and when a cell phone user travels through, it registers them as going to a park, going to a restaurant, that sort of thing. So they're able to map out, it's only a representative samples, of course, because they're not getting everyone's cell phone, but they're able to map out, and once you put that much big data together, get a fairly good sampling of who's coming to the parks. They can even figure out, where they're coming from, which is helpful for our tourism, like how far are people driving to get to the parks. In theory, you could figure out what people who camped at Barton Park, what their favorite restaurant is after leaving Barton Park. It's a whole big data aggregate, but yeah, so our tourism program has access to that data and ran reports for each of our individual parks and then an aggregate overall for our parks.
So age, income, race, you can do that based on the person's cell phone.
Yeah, because these are people who have essentially agreed to be tracked and be a representative samples. Whether they know they agreed to be tracked, I don't know, so no plans.
You agreed on yourself.
My phone tells me every day how many of those it blocks.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes like 10 or 20,000.
Wow.
So you're not voting?
Hope you never know where
Next slide. Yeah, so I touched on this, but I just described briefly what we're hoping to do in each of these phases of our scope here. A lot of our work beyond these public and the technical advisory committees, we're gonna be doing a lot of focus groups. So I mentioned there's a batch of focus groups we're gonna be conducting over the next couple of months with stakeholders, kind of jurisdictional partners primarily, and staff. And then we're gonna be doing broader community-based focus groups in the summer, with hopefully organizations that you can kind of help connect us to as well. Advocacy groups, local clubs, things like that. We'll also be doing a community event in the summer. We'll have more information about that as it starts shaping up. And then we'll also be doing a lot of tabling, probably at trailheads and in parks throughout the summer. And every kind of engagement that we have on the ground, we will also have some online components. There are always multiple channels to share the same information. And then of course, we're using a lot of different communication methods that the county already has set up. We have a new project website that just launched a couple days ago. There's a QR code to that in the fact sheet that's in your binder. There's a little option to sign up for the newsletter and e-blasts and things like that. So, you know, once that, you know, if someone signs up for that, they'll get all the information, whether it's a link to a survey or, hey, we're gonna be at Carver Park or, you know, tabling or XYZ. So a lot of information will be going out through that mailing list. Feel free to sign up yourself if you want. Great. And then, yeah, so as I keep mentioning stakeholders, there's a lot of different folks out in the universe of park users, potential park users. We have done kinds of preliminary work in identifying who those groups may be. They are an appendix at the very end of your binder. We would greatly appreciate your eyes on that. I think that this is just a smattering of the many groups and organizations and clubs that exist that may be affiliated or connected or engaged with parks. We've identified general public, park enthusiasts, organizations like recreational businesses and outdoor and environmental organizations, obviously other agencies, Clackamas County staff and volunteers, elected officials, etc. So those are some kind of the categories of stakeholders. If you find, you know, if there's any other organization or group here that you think is missing or would be an interesting one to connect with, whether it's, you know, either from, you know, for a focus group or even just simply getting information about this project, it would be, yeah, please feel free to send those ideas along. I'll keep talking, but if something else pops up.
If we have.
Yeah, well, actually, give them to me now. Okay, that's fine, that's fine. Yeah, I'm gonna say Tom is your main point of contact, so he's gonna filter everything. And his contact information is gonna be on the last slide here, so I think it's your binder as well. But yeah, if you do have any other ideas, feel free to email those over to Tom, and then we'll continue compiling them into that stakeholder database. Okay. Tom, talk to us about background and values and opportunities.
Absolutely, yeah. So just to make sure we're all on the same page, Clackamas County Parks. These are our Clackamas County Parks. We have 15 parks, almost 1,000 acres of land spread over about a 450 square mile service area. We offer camping, picnicking, water access. We have access points on the Springwater and Cazadero long distance trails. And we serve about 1.4 million visitors a year out of a program that has just 8 full-time employees and then hires seasonal staff to help out in the summer. So we are small but mighty and doing a lot of work out there. The overview of how county parks as a program works is county parks does not receive any tax dollars. We don't receive a general fund. We don't have a dedicated levy like NCPRD, any of that stuff. What we do have is we have our park fees, so camping fees, parking fees, picnic fees, etc. That accounts for almost half of our operating revenue. We own a marina out here that produces some revenue for us. We own a golf course. Stone Creek Golf Course is actually one of our parks, and that produces revenue. Our county forestry program has 3,200 acres of working timberlands, and so trees harvested from our county forest lands, revenue from that helps to support the county park system. So about 75% of our operating revenue comes from our properties, from county-owned properties. Aside from that, we have some support from the state RV fund through RV registrations that helps to fund campground operations. We get a small amount of operating money from the State Marine Board for our boat ramps. And then a few other miscellaneous things that pop up now and then that we've always got that miscellaneous slice on the pie. So that's kind of an overview of where we are and how we're funded. I think next slide. So we have, there's a full timeline in your packet that Ellen and Barb put together. And started acquiring parkland in the early 1900s. So parks have been around for a while, but it wasn't until the 60s that started really building some parks. So this nice little graphic here, lower left of your screen, Sam, shows what we're doing for this project. We have, as mentioned, a Parks Advisory Board. We've got our PAC and our TAC working with our project team, getting community input, and ultimately providing information to the Board of County Commissioners, moving towards an adoption of a new system plan. So our first system plan was 1995, and then it was updated in 2004. So we're now about 22 years out of date. But the aspects of those plans, next slide, those plans and others, including transportation planning, health plan, the walk bike plan. So there's a number of plans that the county has in place that provide input to us in terms of general county values. And what we've done here is taken the values identified in those plans, and as you can see on the right, consolidated them into kind of a summary of those big pots of values. And we look at those and look at how is county parks delivering those to the people of Clackamas County. So on a day-to-day basis, we have rangers out there that are, cleaning bathrooms, getting campsites ready for our next visitors, renting out picnic shelters, mowing the lawns, just the day-to-day operation of parks. But the reason that we do those things is informed by our values of equitable access and environmental stewardship and human health and wellness and safety. So all of those play out, and we end up having sometimes some internal struggles with how we balance out those values. Obviously, maintaining the highest level of service comes at the cost of financial sustainability. But failing to provide that service comes at the cost of other values. We had an issue 5 years ago, 6 years ago now, when we were working on the Barton Park Master Plan, where the issue of access and environmental sustainability came into question because as many of you know, Barton Park gets very busy in the summer. On hot days, we have cars lined up to get to the river, sometimes, mile-long, hour-long backups. And as we were going through that planning process, a question came up about, could we just add a whole bunch more parking for this new area of the park that we were acquiring? And if we just filled that with parking, how many people could we get on the river? And that's an access option. But then we've now got this new area of the park that is basically just a big paved parking lot and could be something else. And so how do we balance what we're doing with the natural environment versus the recreational environment? So it's really important to us to have a document that helps us identify what values we're serving and how we balance those and how we make decisions in which parks and which amenities to prioritize. A question that comes up has come up a couple of times leading up to this system planning process is, if Clackamas County Parks suddenly got $500,000, what would we do with it? Do we invest it in one of our already developed parks? Do we invest it in one of our undeveloped properties and get that open to the public as a park? Do we invest it in one of our less developed parks, maybe adding amenities to it? And right now, we don't have a guiding document that helps us with those decisions. We've been able to do some good projects in the last couple of years, and it's kind of fun to do a project that you just think, hey, that'd be neat, let's do it. But there's no guiding document behind it. So this is going to help us out a lot. And just really appreciate all your participation and input.
Thank you, yeah, so we'll pause there a little bit, so it's probably a lot of information on the screen. But thinking about kind of that consolidated list of values, we have just a couple of broad questions and maybe thinking about your immediate reactions to those values if you continue skipping ahead. So, you know, and these are completely in flux, right? These are just, this is an amalgamation of what we've been culling and pulling out from all of these other planning efforts that help support and further articulate the ethos and the philosophy of the county operations. So we've identified, you know, equitable access, connectivity, environmental sustainability and stewardship, human health, wellness, and safety, financial sustainability, so fiscal responsibility would be another term, project feasibility and alignment. I'll say that was one that our technical advisory committee was struggling with a little bit. But just some basic kind of reflective questions for you is, you know, what of these feels most true about county parks today? What feels important but maybe isn't fully there yet? And then is anything missing given who and how county parks serves? So just something to chew on.
So while you're chewing, I'll throw out one thing I forgot to mention. A piece of this puzzle is in that who and how we serve is where we fit in the greater picture of recreation. If you look at the map, you'll see, you know, the northwest corner of the county is the densely populated area, North Clackamas Parks District. The southeast side, all the green, is Forest Service, and we're kind of the rural parks in between. But what does that mean in terms of the types of amenities and that sort of thing? So who and how we serve is definitely a part of it.
What do you feel like county parks does well or feels most true in terms of these ideas or concepts?
Well, so Tom, what makes the county parks unique from all the other recreation opportunities out there?
I view the parks as a bridge between the urban and the wilderness. We have opportunities where you can go out and go camping, but still be fairly close to home. You can get on the water. You can enjoy a more natural setting. You know, a lot of urban parks are very much, you know, lawn and playground. We have more trees, more wilderness, but we're not out in the boonies. So that's where I see that what we are is that bridge between, and sometimes that's a starting point for people to explore further out. Yeah. That may not have answered your question.
Yeah, I've been wondering about that because, you know, there's a lot of Forest Service and BLM opportunities out there. What about the quality or the experience of the facilities? Do you think they're a little more developed than the Forest Service campgrounds?
In our developed parks, yes. It varies widely in our portfolio. We have some of our parks are a gravel lot on the side of the road that you wouldn't know it was a park if we didn't put a sign up. And some of them have an entrance booth, fully developed campground with hot showers. So, but yeah, definitely our camping areas are more developed than what you would find in the wilderness.
Yeah, Justin?
My thoughts on this, reading through these questions, I think as I reflect on the values up on this page, I've been with parks for a while now, they are all very accessible. But if I think through what's missing here, if I put my parent lens or my county citizen lens, a city park where kids can just go down the street and play is very inseparable from me as a member of the community. Parks being accessible don't always feel inseparable with the identity of Clackamas, and I think that might be one thing that is very important, but maybe not fully there yet. If a park was not there tomorrow, would the people of Clackamas County feel that departure? I am positive there are a lot of people that would, but I'm not positive that the vast majority of Clackamas County would feel like that was something lost to them. So how do we bridge that accessibility that they have? They don't have to drive hours to find a really solid camping ground with the inseparability of that's part of my identity in Clackamas County.
I see these parks as, serving kind of as community parks, you know, instead of neighborhood parks, and that, you know, folks are driving to the Springwater Trail or the Casadero Trailhead or the Barlow, wayside areas to go hiking and walking, they're going to Barton and things like that to get on the river and do water, you know, either fishing or rafting or kayaking, floating. And so they're really kind of those links. The other ones are kind of forested parks for picnicking and camping, climbing and things like that. So they're kind of a unique community park in that, you know, the community parks that you find elsewhere are kind of more sports complexes or you know, we have a skate park and bike track and stuff in Sandy, but you know, they kind of serve a different purpose. And like you said, this is kind of what we call forestry adventures.
Kathleen, how do you think of, you ran the parks for the district?
Everything from Olali Lake to Lilla Pass. Yeah.
Yeah, and so how do you think about the quality of the campgrounds, for example, compared to the state parks?
I think they're very well run. I mean, I don't know what the occupancy is, but you know, they've got, I think they're well run and they look nice. And I mean, compared to the Forest Service stuff, you know, I had 67 campgrounds to manage with.
Yeah.
I had 2 full-time people, my staff, believe it or not, we had 900 volunteers, so I'm a little jealous of that. But yeah, it's I think they do a great job. I think, you know, if you are looking, you know, there are ways to kind of consider, not that I can be advocating for it, but you know, we used, because all our money went to Timberline Lodge at the Mount Hood, I was, you know, always writing grants and doing these partnerships. And so partnerships, I think, are a great opportunity to work with other partners to kind of, you know, you don't have enough money to do it all. And so you kind of partner with the, you know, everybody partners together. I was forced into doing concessionaire management of our campgrounds for most of the campgrounds. And that was a way to kind of let us focus on the infrastructure replacement and things like that, rather than trying to deal with getting volunteers and you know, things like that. So I think there's ways to do partnerships in the future for these areas if the financial sustainability is an issue. I'm not advocating position by any stretch.
I think Tom kind of brought it up earlier too, if you think about it from an identity standpoint. We can call some of the parks campgrounds, we cannot call all of the parks campgrounds, and so there's this fundamental, like, the boarding station has a purpose and it's great, it's not a campground. And it never will be, it's not supposed to be. But there's just this difference of access and use between all the parks, and what does that commonality and identity flow through in this campground? Does it need to all be a campground? I don't think so, but how does that work between those two?
Do you get feedback from the public from, we wish this would be a camping campground instead of just day access only, or?
Have you guys done much work in that?
We haven't had a lot. We did have Knightsbridge Park came up as a place where the camp across the street was interested in expanding camping there. And so we've looked at the possibility of doing camping there, but have not pursued it this time because right now we also use camp hosts. I forgot to mention those, but we do have volunteers on site. And currently we don't have power, water, or sewer on site at that location to support a host. So it would be a more expensive campground than the ones we've been building in existing parks.
I'll also say there's probably quite a bit of confusion and also just, you know, not knowing the difference between a county park and North Clackamas Recreation District Park or playground or, so yeah, there's kind of an identity conversation about Clackamas County and then also a conversation about, you know, how do we educate? Is it important to know the difference? Do people care? You know, where does that conversation come into play?
I was just gonna say, I'm trying to wrap my head around, because kind of one of my expertise is how public assets are funded to the public. And so you report to the county, but the county doesn't provide any tax dollars for those assets. So structurally, because cities get property taxes or taxes to pay for their developed parks, you have SDCs, other things that can build parks. States have money to buy their parks. North Clackamas is a taxing district, so they tax to do their parks. Sounds like you do yours more on an enterprise basis, meaning you have to charge people money. You don't like, how can you pay to maintain a natural area if people aren't paying the money other than parking fees? So there's a structural piece I'm trying to wrap my head around. But if you know, like, is this traditional for most counties in Oregon? Because I'm trying to think that feels broken to me.
I was Googling it earlier in the meeting. I wasn't doing any side activities on my phone. I was actually Googling that fact, and Clackamas came up as an example of one of few unfunded counties in the state of Oregon.
Yeah, because I haven't looked into it. I'm just from somebody who, I mean, this is kind of what I do as public funding for Oregon. It's just one of those things where I hadn't really considered that you really don't have a mechanism for to work with your county commission is how do we prioritize parks versus, which is what a lot of city governments do.
Yeah.
So it's kind of an interesting dynamic.
There are definitely some other counties in Oregon that are essentially self-funded or completely non-tax funded anyway. It varies a lot from county to county. Some of them like don't have a levy, but they do have SDCs or some different combinations of things. Yeah, it's a lot of what we look at when we're adding park development in the absence of a guiding document is what's our return on investment? We've built, what are we up to now? We're gonna be 25 sites in the last 3 years, 4 years, using funding from tourism for the upfront cost. And it's a win-win because we get revenue and then they get transient lodging tax, which they can then invest in projects. But the main reason we do it is overnight is a better return on investment for us than day use in terms of the staff time and janitorial supplies and all that. So yeah, natural areas don't really pay for themselves unless people are paying to park at the natural area so they can enjoy it or something like that.
And specifically for Clackamas County, we have Stone Creek Golf Course, which is a more profitable entity that helps fund more of the parks. But as CPI goes up and parks expand, one entity is not going to cover the growth of everything else. So that becomes less and less financially viable for us.
And my understanding too is there's some funding that comes from the timber.
Yeah, so the timber proceeds are about 8% of our
That's quite
operating
unique,
budget.
yeah.
Stone Creek is about 8% of our operating budget. And the marina is 8%. Stone Creek is 8%, timber is like 14%. So it's that whole portfolio that we put together to try and keep the doors open, as it were.
Do the signs where you collect fees, do they say your tax dollars don't support this park?
They do not.
Do they say that?
They do not.
Yeah, they should. It should say that.
I have suggested as such.
Well,
Even designed a sign, but.
When you go to Feldheimer and have to pay $10, you think, holy cow.
Yeah. Well, Feldheimer had a lot, but.
But that would be good to know.
Yeah.
People would be more excited.
Yeah, we get a lot of calls where people are complaining, my tax dollars, I should get, and I'm like, well, A, no. And B, how can we help you?
We should put that by the little collection box there. Your tax
Funded by
dollars
you.
aren't-
That's right.
Seems like I can see recreation is the word I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
I don't really see that there, but parts of it are human health, wellness, connectivity.
certainly feed into that, but people go to parks to recreate. They go to parks to go out on the river and go steelhead fishing. They go rock climbing. They go to other parks to go picnicking. They go to recreate as a fundamental concept for parks. Another area that I touched on here, but the financial sustainability, the drone is day use only at park. There's no camping there. But a lot of people come to that park from outside of Clackamas County, so they may not directly benefit county coffers, but they stop at the Carver hangar, or they stop and get a pizza in Carver. They spend money in Clackamas County as a visitor, as I would go to Glacier National Park in Montana. The same thing happens in the county. People come out from outside the county, spend money, which helps businesses. Might not help the county parks directly, but it does help businesses. So I don't know if that fits into financial sustainability, but it is good for the county.
Yeah, it's definitely an economic arm to that. I will, just for your perusal, I'll share a couple of tidbits from the technical advisory committee that met just a few hours before this committee. And they were talking a lot about how visitor experience is just a driving value that we might want to uncover and emphasize a little bit more. Enjoyment, recreation and enjoyment, and thinking about that as well. And then also equitable investment was another concept too, they thought was something we could highlight. But I think enjoyment, visitor experience, those are some key concepts that might be better reflected here.
Is education ever mentioned?
And education, yes. Sorry, that's the first item on my list that I need to say. Yeah.
Does Clackamas Parks offer programming?
Not what you think of as programming, like summer camps or sports leagues or anything now.
That'd be like a district offering.
Closest thing we have in terms of programming is the access to amenities to do things like Monroe Wall hosted when REI was holding a climbing class. So it's like it wasn't our program, but the program happened. Mooring Station, a lot of relay races take place there. It's not our programming though. So
I think there'd be great opportunities at the drone for education for geology, biology, understanding forestry, just getting young people out to, in their backyard to see these great amenities, not just a drone, but all these places can be such a value add for the community for learning activities and education. That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
We do see a lot of school buses at Eagle Fern.
Yeah.
Very popular
spots.
Yeah.
Great example.
Yeah, I'd agree with Keith in that, just being to be able to get out. I mean, there's a value just to that county park. I know at the college during the pandemic, we would see people in our parking lot that would just go and meet and park and do social distancing in our parking lot because it was empty. And it really opened my eyes to the fact that people just needed to still get out of the house. And even if it's just in an open space away from noise and I feel like that's what we use a lot of these parks for, is to get out of Oregon City, to get out and just kind of have no noise and just to have a little bit of peace and quiet. So, and I just think today's society that our kids need for that.
Great. Oh yeah, Sam, thank you.
Yeah, I was just gonna riff off of the recreation piece. I was a part of the tourism board. I was on the tourism board for 6 years, a few years ago, and outdoor recreation is a pillar, right, of tourism. So on the same vein of tourism and visitation and that sort of thing, somebody in the room said recreation, and I would just, there's nowhere that says like outdoor, but there's a component. I mean, it's been spoken to a bit, but yeah, the outdoor recreation piece, I think, especially Monroe Wall on the river. I mean, it's definitely a value that draws people to the parks.
Yeah. Excellent. Thanks, Sam. Appreciate it. Yeah.
I'll just say, looking at now these 5 bullets. That's the manager's view of things, isn't it? That's what you're thinking about.
Yeah.
It's not the user's view.
I will say, I didn't put that list together, but I think, yeah, from the perspective of, these are the values that we'd be looking at organizationally, as opposed
Those are
to
the sideboards you're working.
Yeah.
That's not what people want from a park. That they don't go to a park thinking any of those things.
I don't think they would articulate those things,
Yeah.
but I think if they didn't feel welcome, if they didn't feel that there was equitable access,
Yeah, yeah.
if they didn't feel we were good environmental stewards, so I think, but you're right, nobody would go to the park and go, oh man, I feel like, and write down this list.
It's somewhere else. I want to get out.
Yeah,
I want to go somewhere.
yeah.
And I want to go somewhere that's pleasant.
Sometimes people want to go out for environment, to see the environment and, like you go out to Eagle Fern, identify different trees and you take that hike around there. I mean, there is some of that as well. The environmental sustainability and stewardship piece, particularly when you talk about education, kids, they're really interested in some of that stuff. There might be a lot that are just out there to get on the water and go crazy. Yeah, some people are there for the education part of it, which includes environmental stewardship and sustainability.
There might be one person that goes out and does their budgets in the park.
But it is, I mean, yeah, so you are right, this is a framework for decision making, right? When it comes to assessing, where do we put our money? What do we do with this $1 million? Do we buy this piece of property? Do we build bathrooms or do we mow the lawn? This is kind of where we start asking ourselves, what are the questions to ask ourselves as we make these decisions around funding?
Yeah, and just to peel back the curtains a little bit, we're not gonna dive into detail today, but yeah, this kind of sets up the framework for that decision making, and we'll be using this whole process, not just today, to define what does environmental stewardship mean to the community. So we will be working through these engagements, these focus groups, these surveys, this open house, to kind of humanize these things a bit, to your point, to make sure we're capturing those things and then translate that as a management framework, like so that the county may put it as a way that reflects the community, make sure we're defining the right things in the way.
I'm gonna transition us kind of having this conversation broadly and maybe trying to translate the conversation spatially onto these maps. And just wanting to reflect that and thinking about these places in Clackamas County parks. What are the ones well, and trying to understand, what are these opportunities and constraints? Are there important parks, important locations in Clackamas County? Ones that you've used a lot and are like really heavily used. And yeah, so like why it matters and if there's a strength or a challenge that you see here. We just kind of want to start collecting brainstormed ideas. So this is a bit of a free-for-all, but we would love you to just kind of collaborate around a map, start taking some sticky notes and pens, and maybe just putting, or you can also, we have targets too, we can mark up on the map, circle things, tell us about what are some of those strengths or challenges of particular areas. This is going to be really helpful for us because we are going out and doing site assessments of different parks and park amenities over the next couple of months. So just having your kind of initial input on particular places and things that you're seeing and witnessing or have heard is going to kind of help us think through where we might want to go and what we might want to start evaluating a little bit more closely. So feel free to start. There's 2 maps facing in different directions, but you can take sticky notes and pen. I've also got some markers here too. If you'd rather just mark up directly on the map. Do that too.
And Sam, if you want to participate, there's a map on your screen. The parks pretty well. You can just let us know any comments you want written on a sticky note and where you want it placed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm putting some thoughts into the chat, so I'm working on it right now. Yeah.
Thank you.
That is the site that he said looks like a gravel parking lot you wouldn't even know.
Unless you're.
Yeah, it's right adjacent to the Sandy River. It's a really good.
Is it off of Bluff?
It's off
It's before.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's on Valley Park, 11701 South Road. It starts with an M. It's a quarter mile.
Is that any place I can go with this stuff?
No.
I've never
Can't do that.
Is there a road there?
That's easy. That's cheating.
I mean, it's just down.
We got a college that. That's 16 square miles.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is a,
Basically like the not open to the public works, their national areas are like a few acres we have developed, yeah.
Oh.
They're
All right.
owned, but they're not.
So like open space.
part of this is like the.
Over here.
I gotta bring that in.
Yeah, you just need.
Yeah. Which were.
Parks in particular, like it's really a lot of hours.
It's still there.
I just that Wagon Wheel Park, it was like,
Some people do park.
you wouldn't even know it's a park, when you drive by it, and I did drive by it.
You did, yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a commercial lot.
Very much so. Well, people just need a parking lot, because both of them are just large.
It's a made up area. It doesn't have one, but that's, if you can make that, it puts some.
So part of that is industrial, part of it is
There's a porta potty.
this green here, part of it is county park and part of it's.
Just a handful.
Most of mine, yeah, that's sure. Yeah, professionally. Yeah.
Folks come to town that it's easy to get to, it's a beginner friendly stretch, that's
Yeah.
good for the population that we're looking at.
And as much as I hate to.
Yeah.
And it was pretty good. Let's just look at it.
So you heard that.
Here's those up.
Just have to wait.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's that deep creek here, deep creek. So it looks like it's a little.
You guys going a little slow.
It's yeah, and it's, Metro gave it to us to develop a park. And, I've been doing a parking lot, and then ODOT said, you can't have a parking lot right because it's on this curve on the road, and made us close it off. So it's now very, they use because we're, they parking here.
Is that on Baker's Ferry Road?
It's on the highway.
So you're only.
On the other side.
Yeah, we're wedged between the river and the guardrail. It's a weird.
Yeah, so it's that road that's closed off, sure.
Yeah, where you see that gap in the guardrail, and it's got a gate. Yep, really deep.
So what do you do about that? Nothing?
For now.
For now, we've just been holding on to it. There was a big restoration project done there, it created better tide channel habitat. So that closed it off to the public and it hasn't reopened. So it's been a lot of fun.
What's this part right here? It's not.
They are stopped.
Maybe a golf course or, I don't know.
I'm a manager. It's very river and it's a little bit further off the county. Was all underwater. It was crazy.
Tom, didn't we just give Woodland to the fire department?
We're in the process of getting it with the fire.
That's a metro.
Hasn't
I
transferred
think
yet.
this is clear.
I thought they already
Because it's coming in.
Oh, they have
it's coming in.
Well, they have plans that they had to get approved to be able to go out for a bond.
So
So they don't have money to build it. And the county said, well, unless you actually have the building, they don't want you to. So
This is like the best in the world.
So I mean, it's essentially a done deal.
Oh, absolutely.
Technically, we still want it.
It's a great
The challenge with all that is that the folks up there still want a park. They want a community center. They want this and that.
They're already close to.
Yeah, that's a great.
Common denominator when who's cleaning the toilet? That's recreation.
Lots of
We went up there and said, if you form a parks district,
Right.
you can have the property.
Yeah.
They're not an incorporated city, so the idea that they can kind of even have a park district and all that just never was gonna fly, and that's where these partnership opportunities, you know, kind of.
So this is.
Try to set this thing, work with Wildwood, and
There's that
feel
right
like,
to
you know, you've already have staff.
Oh, Dickenburg Road, yeah, it goes away.
Partnerships.
There's
People are already staffing it, and then you just get them a little bit of money.
Three here.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know where that is?
Yeah, I should, I can take rocks.
It's the best place to take some.
So Sandy, that's
Very, very easy.
yeah. So, you know, they have a little niche. Where, you know,
I think lots of.
building, you know,
Yeah, the whole
library,
drive.
community, or something like that. That the city, you know, it's already managing the library.
That's the next place. Just stuff all over.
You know, I think you need to look at.
Does Clackamas County have any partnerships that are work connection?
We do, some of them are even in the room. So, we have, I guess, now that I think about it, a sort of informal partnership, but longstanding with the Joel Wall Preservation Committee. We think of them as our friends group for that part.
Yeah.
We have at Feldheimer, we have an official adopt-a-park agreement with Northwest Steelheaders. We just got an adopt-a-park for Barlow Bayside.
And Lorette. Yeah.
And at Lotterette,
Yeah.
Steelheaders and Lotterette,
Yeah.
Barlow Wayside, Mount Hood Stewardship.
Oh, there you go. Exactly. Yeah. There you go.
And then we have informal friends,
Is that Mitch?
boring fish,
Exactly.
friends of boring. So there's definitely community partnership.
Barlow Wayside. Be always number one. Yeah.
You're right, let's say that.
It's people property.
Barlow Wayside, that's the hiking trail right by the Sandy Trailhead, right? Yeah. Okay. I bike on Sandy all the time and I recognize the Wayside Park area, but I've never experienced hiking trails.
Probably a good team.
Yeah. That's kind of something there was then they got the local deal.
So, Oxbow is that a state park?
Veterans property. Yeah. It's a veteran.
Barlow Wayside?
Yeah.
So.
Then.
Their
grants.
Wasn't.
They don't know, you know. It's just kind of having these, all these,
They give it to you.
all the employees that run all these kind of grant things and all that.
This is a very cool place.
Literally trying to grab any of that to the money to be a challenge, but I just think when you try to trust to give them agencies. No money gets. That's not really. But you can.
Well, one thing.
We're in city.
I don't think I mentioned, but it's not.
That would really connect. Yeah, oh, would be awesome.
The Metro Parks and we've. We got last one, $2 million park development. We're interested in the park, we got.
Clackamas Park. A program that's been close to. Right when the Clackamas.
It's still a question of who's bringing it in. Yeah, actually.
There is someone.
And what we're
Yeah.
prioritizing, because we're, the metro money is mostly going to work it out, the 20 buses last process. We're gonna
No.
use steroids and break.
There might be one here.
So a lot of the.
Break it down, break it down.
But this, the Clackamas.
Spread a little bit, might be because.
Quite some time. Yeah, so.
Everyone had a plan in place and we don't have plans in place. And so tourism money is a little more spread out.
Well, there's a, isn't there, there's a.
That's possible. Like rats. Did you have to move any road barriers?
I'm trying to think where.
Thank you for providing ideas down. I'm just gonna collect
On the
those
south,
before
the south
we
bank?
wrap up. Does anyone want to share, anything, any opportunities, challenges? Anyone want to share what they wrote?
Here's one thing.
I like Jennifer shared earlier about just the accessibility of the boat ramps and how that has a pretty big impact on
That's.
the programming specifically.
Yeah, we use Barton to Carver
It's a kind of.
fair amount,
It's water
and,
district.
yeah, talk about like the private boater as well as for that will work. I think it's when you come into proximity, there's some of that, like a good stretch of river that people use for different purposes at different times of the year and doing things. Yeah.
Do you have set guidelines or criteria that you use for your program to define like the types of places you would go that would serve your group?
I do personally, we do a lot of scouting, and so I feel bad for my ignorance, but a lot of the places I haven't been to because there's not as much connection to a larger system as you might have with like Oregon State Parks, right? Where you know there's like a little bit more uniformity. BLM land or national forest, you kind of know what to expect there, and county is kind of this in-between space that you have to see it to know.
Right,
And so
yeah.
unless someone gives me some insight and they're like, you should go see this, it's pretty accessible, and I visited that park for the first time, just recently, and I had never heard of it before and didn't know that was an option. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity to alleviate the strain on the over-visited places, while you still get that. I like what you said about the nature feel with being a little bit more front country, which is what I think a lot of folks are looking for that first experience, for that beginner friendly. It's just, how do you spread the word so that people know about it? And the other thing I'm just thinking of, as you're talking about finances, is like the parking pass. So yeah, I already own this parking pass, this parking pass, this parking pass, so I'm gonna try to go to those places because I don't want to pay for another parking pass. It's like the one thing that a smaller region has going against it as compared to a larger one.
Yeah.
So just kind of like the messaging and the marketing of this in-between space of what you may not have in the breadth, you might resolve some overcrowding issues, or you might have some deeper forested access that you can't get in a metro area. You might resolve some safety concerns that might be existing elsewhere. So I think there's a lot of opportunity here.
Great. Anyone else want to share some tidbits, thoughts?
I wonder how, this is, the focus is on county parks, but it's, putting it at Estacada, that's a state park, I believe. I put in there and gone down to Martin. Putting in at Knightsbridge, you pass by, it's the Malala State Park, right at the entrance to, the Willamette River. So I don't know how this fits into the overall plan for this group, but people use these parks in concert with non-county property. And I think that's worth at least thinking about.
Yeah.
Through this.
Connectivity of water
The
trails.
connectivity,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm sure Sam would have a lot to say about that. Same thing with Barlow Wayside Park. I've ridden up and down Springwater all the way to Timberline Lodge and stopping at that little tiny gem of a park to, use the privy, park a car. It's just a great connectivity to a metro, Springwater. Wasn't there, it'd be hard to use that metro resource.
Yeah, that's a good, Sam's had a very good comment up there.
Yeah, if you wanna read it. I want to emphasize the importance of Clackamas County parks, especially along the river, as cooling centers during peak heat times. When the highest use peak times occur, this speaks to the human health, but more specific, and I'm wondering if the initial demographic slide is representative of these times, trends, or some kind of average or median. It is not. In my experience, that is a lot larger percentage of non-white users during this peak days, so demographics access crossover with equity. During the shoulder season, there's more outdoor rec activities, and this use will continue to increase as outdoor rec opportunities are scarce in the greater metro area and the assets Clackamas County Parks offer. Yeah, mainly speaking to my experience at Barton, Carver, Fieldheimer, and the state park above. And the city parks as well. Thank you for responding.
What was the year we had the 163 days? That's what I wanted to.
Yeah. 2021.
No, 20.
But no, it's here, I guess, so I know.
It was the same year we had the ice storm.
Yeah.
It was.
I had the roll up.
Yeah, it was 2020 was the ice storm.
2021 was the ice storm,
Okay.
shortly after the 2020 fires.
That's right, yes, 2020 fires followed by ice storm, followed by the email. That was,
That was a while.
Yeah.
I think it's changed since 2004.
I worked a 14-hour shift at Barton when it was 116 degrees out. So,
I went down to Knightsbridge and stuff I can do it with a friend, and it was the most lit party I've ever seen. In the water.
Oh, yeah.
Like in the water.
Well, thank you for your feedback. This is great. We're gonna scan these notes. As I mentioned, we'll be using this to help guide the site assessment work that Greenworks is gonna be conducting over the next couple of months. So this is really good intel. It kind of helps us think about where we might focus our efforts and what we might want to look at first. So appreciate that. Finley, do you mind? Let's wrap up here. Okay, next steps. We're a few minutes early, but this is perfect. So as I mentioned, there's a lot of work happening between now and when we will be meeting with you next. We are hoping to reconvene this group for their second meeting sometime in May is probably when we're aiming. We'll be able to nail a date sometime in the next couple of weeks or so. So once we're able to figure that out, we will send a communication right away so you can hold that time on your calendars. But in between now and then, there's a handful of things happening. So there's a lot of work that we need to do. There's a site assessment work that I keep talking about. There are also some stakeholder focus groups. So we're going to be having some somewhat similar conversations with other groups, jurisdictional partners, county staff, etc. So that by the time we get them together in May, we'll be able to report out kind of what we learned through the site assessment work that we did, as well as those stakeholder interviews, and then also tee yourselves up for all of that broader engagement and outreach that we're going to be doing in the summer around the evaluation criteria and our recommendations. So things are moving fast and there's a lot going on here. So appreciate you kind of following along as we move through all of this content and this work. If you have questions, Tom is going to be kind of your point of contact, and then he'll start filtering things to us. A follow-up, if you look through the stakeholder database in that appendix and you have more ideas or groups, organizations, committees that we missed or are not listed there, please do send those to us. It's, yeah, just it'd be really great to continue fleshing that out as much as possible. Whether they're involved in a survey or a newsletter or they're part of a focus group, like, you know, to be determined, but we just do want to continue building out that database as much as possible. Yeah, and then obviously the project website, it is live. It has all of the materials you have in front of you. If anyone is interested or just wants to be in the know, feel free to point them to that website. There's a little email list sign up. You can also sign up as well. You'll just get the communications, kind of the interim communications, whether it's, you know, a survey blast or announcement about being a part of one of these days in summer, things like that. So yeah, I guess I'll end it and just, does anyone have any last final questions or, oh yeah.
Oh, just as a point of order, one of the things that Clackamas County values is public participation. You'll note we have on the agenda public comment period.
Oh, yes.
I received no public comments. I don't see anyone here for public comment, but I just wanted to acknowledge that was on the agenda.
Yes, super.
Yeah.
And you want us to take these binders home, yeah?
So the binders, you can bring them, bring them home if you want to do some light reading, or you can leave them with us and we will bring them back for you at the next meeting. So if you take them home, that's awesome. Just remember to bring it back for the next meeting so you can stuff it before you. Kathleen, do we have a question? Yeah, any other final comments or questions? Appreciate you all being here until 7:30 at night. Oh, yeah.
No, I was just.
Thumbs up, okay. Grab some extra snacks on your way out too, and yeah, thank you all for being here until 7:30. I know it's not ideal for everyone's dinner and bedtime routines. Hope you all have a great evening and.
Unless you have three kids.
Thank you all.
Yeah, that is great for someone, but.
Most likely would forget. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Get it?
Yeah. I mean, it's great.
Just. Excavation business. Yeah. My grandson's. Yeah. Yeah, if we want to do a survey of our members, totally open.
Thank you for hearing the history.
We have a program. Yeah, I can go there for. These 5 sites. Question, man, the whole river's changed. Yeah, the reports I've gotten, it's like, it's just. It's really easy. The river really changes. We're not to 5%. And you know where you got that channel.
I love my binder, but yeah. If you want.
I actually have some, I'm curious about too, Mark, what is some? So I expect it's, yeah, it's got. It's a little. Launch, so it's a little bit. But yeah, it's not.
Let's move next week.
Well, Harvard, so much. Bonnie's lure, how that fair? 30%, yeah, Sam thinks that he's the ORD department, he was this year for the first meeting. I don't know. We got her did really well. Yeah, it seems like most of their properties were good, but yeah, Bonnie, I would say. Not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, most of that is what.
And you wanted to do
Downward Clackamas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just there's yes. I used to work with Rocky.
Yeah.
He was at State Parks.
Yeah.
With Darrow. Rick, of course, right?
I actually never been able to do those classes.
For a long time, different. There's actually, just. Corridor. That's basically like starting with the Timberline Lodge, like a lot of them are already built. And so there's Timberline to town, across town, kind of bridal, get you to almost. To have kind of get on Crutcher's bench. Power.
Thanks, everybody.
Y'all use it all the time. That's it is. It's kind of down. Cedar Ridge Park. Sarah.